What's happening, everybody? Injuries piling up across the SEC during fall camp. We'll tell you what other players have now been lost for the season. Locked On SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to everydayers. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. All right, let's dive into it. Let's do it. Let's go around the conference.
Boots out to the right. Takes the handoff. What a catch!
Around the conference.
And we start over at Texas as, man, their running back room is really taking some hits. On Tuesday, the school announced that running back Christian Clark not going to play this year after tearing his Achilles. That comes just a couple days after we found out that starting running back CJ Baxter going to miss the entire season with a torn LCL and PCL. Clark was a true freshman out of Phoenix, Arizona, just got to Austin out of Mountain Point High School, was a four-star recruit, the number 6 player from the state of Arizona, the number 23 running back, according to the 24/7 composite. Clark was a big recruiting pickup for Steve Sarkisian, had offers from all over the country, and now Texas is down 2 running backs. They do still have sophomore Jaydon Blue, who will expect to be the big-time workhorse for them. They also have Quintrevian Wisner and true freshman Jared Gibson. On Monday night, Anwar Richardson, Texas Insider, posted on Twitter that the staff was considering adding another body by moving redshirt freshman receiver Ryan Niblett over to running back. Texas, of course, just came out as the number 4 team in the AP preseason poll, and they'll open the season against Colorado State. But you got to think Sark and his crew are putting Jaydon Blue in bubble wrap for now. They cannot afford another injury at that running back spot. But best of luck to Christian Clark. We'll have to wait till next year to see him for the Longhorns. Meanwhile, over at Oklahoma, they lose a wide receiver, part of their depth. Brent Venables telling reporters on Tuesday that Jaden Gibson not going to play this year. Gibson reportedly injured his knee in fall camp practices. 6'5", 197 pounds. Gibson was a 4-star recruit in the 2022 class and played as a true freshman, made 9 appearances in 2022, mostly on special teams. Played in all 13 games for the Sooners last year. Earned his first start in the Alamo Bowl against Arizona, where last year on the season he recorded 14 catches for 375 yards and 5 touchdowns. So, not exactly like he didn't do much of anything. It's a deep ball, big play threat there with 14 catches for 375 yards. I mean, that's, almost 27 yards a catch he averaged, but had a strong finish to the season, scored in 3 straight games to end the regular season. J.J. Hester told the OU Daily this week Jaden Gibson was going to have a big season. Just to see somebody go down like that with such high character is a travesty. Venables identified Hester as one of the receivers that's going to need to step up. Now, look, that room still looks pretty good. They did bring in Purdue transfer Deion Burks, who everyone has raved about ever since he stepped on campus. Of course, our friend of the show, Nick Anderson, was a stud last year as a freshman, catching 800 yards and 10 touchdowns. That was a Oklahoma freshman record for most touchdowns scored. So they got some weapons. Jackson Arnold still has a lot of pieces, but certainly a blow to Oklahoma's depth in losing wide receiver Jaden Gibson for the season. Then yesterday we find out over at Kentucky, their offense takes a blow as Matt Jones of Kentucky Sports Radio reported running back Chip Trainum broke his hand. Now, at least for him, it's not a season-ending injury, but it is expected to sideline him for 3 to 4 weeks, which could put him out multiple games. He was a big-time pickup for Mark Stoops and crew this offseason. He's entering year 5 of his collegiate career, started his first 4 seasons at Arizona State and then Ohio State, and was listed on the preseason watch list for the Doak Walker Award. Came to Lexington with 1,100 career rushing yards, 13 touchdowns. Last year appeared in 12 games, was Ohio State's second leading rusher, had 85 rush attempts for 372 yards. Also had 9 catches for 53 yards. So if he's going to miss at least 3 weeks, he will miss Kentucky's season opener. They will host Southern Miss on August 31st to start the season. He could also miss Kentucky's SEC opener, which would be hosting South Carolina in week 2. And that would put him coming back for week 3 when Georgia comes to Lexington. So we'll see what happens there. But Jason Patterson, the freshman, we've heard pretty good reviews on him so far throughout the offseason. So we'll see what he's able to do. And they did bring in Demi Sumo Karnbai, I think is how you say the last name. But somebody's going to have to step up. Obviously, Ray Davis was the stud coming in from Vanderbilt, had an awesome year at Kentucky last year, but he's gone off to the pros, and they're going to need somebody to step up. Now, John Hale, the Lexington Herald leader, noted that Kentucky will likely go by a running back by committee approach. He wrote Tuesday that Jamarian Wilcox, 4-star signee from the 2023 recruiting class, has impressed recently in camp. It is interesting, though. I saw some comments from Kirby Smart yesterday over at Georgia where he was talking about some of his guys being banged up, and he was asked, how do you prevent injuries while still being physical throughout fall camp? And Kirby said, quote, "It's the unanswerable question." He said, how do you play football and practice football without getting injured? The guy who figures that out is going to be worth a lot of money. And it's a great point. I mean, when you look around this league, I mean, we talked about Jordan Thomas over at Tennessee being lost for the year. Ruben Owens, the running back from A&M, being lost for the year. I mean, it's been a handful of guys now. And there's no right way to practice or get ready for the season. You just try to do your best and try to stay healthy. But tough go there for a lot of folks around the league. In other football news, how about Tennessee announcing on Tuesday that they have entered into a transformative partnership with travel giant Pilot. That'll make the Knoxville-based company the presenting partner of the Neyland Stadium renovation project. The deal will be up for up to 20 years with the possibility of extensions. The school announced in a release Pilot will receive prominent signage throughout the stadium, including their logo on the field, making Tennessee one of the first schools to officially adopt the new on-field corporate sponsor logo ruling that was recently passed. It's a branding deal with another corporate entity. The historic names of Neyland Stadium and Shields Watkins Field will remain unchanged. Danny White, athletic director, saying renaming Neyland was never on the table. We were going to be smart and good stewards of that history. So if there was a company for Tennessee to partner with on this new frontier, there probably isn't a better option than Pilot. Jimmy Haslam, Tennessee alum, former CEO of the company, longtime supporter of the Vols. So makes a lot of sense. Financial details were not disclosed, but Pilot is believed to be helping fund the ongoing $337 million renovation of Neyland Stadium. New signage on the east side of the stadium will read "Home of the Vols" and display the Pilot logo. Tennessee, along with the rest of the Power Conference peers, of course, will soon be able to share up to $21 million in revenue directly with student athletes as a result of that House versus NCAA settlement. And one more note here over at Ole Miss. Despite reports on Monday that wide receiver Deion Smith was going to practice, reports last night that several media members did not see him out there. Bruce Feldman on Monday tweeted out, he said, according to sources, gifted former LSU wide receiver Deion Smith, transferred to Ole Miss, was expected to be able to practice Tuesday with the Rebels. 6'3", 190-pound Smith figures to be a huge addition to an already loaded offensive group in Oxford. But so Rebs247.com said wide receiver Deion Smith was not spotted outdoors participating in Ole Miss's practice Tuesday evening during the media viewing, despite prior reports. Now, one other reporter did say, well, we only got to see 3 periods. Didn't mean maybe he didn't come out later, but regardless, reports were that Deion Smith was not there at Ole Miss. So keep an eye on that. That's a big-time player that could certainly add to the mix at Ole Miss if and when he gets out there. All right, thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, our conversation with Cole Cubelic from SEC Media Days. Figured you guys might enjoy a little bit of that. And then a little bit later, we'll talk with Randall Cobb. More Locked On SEC here in just a sec. But first, I want to remind you guys, today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer you get to first pitch. They got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time is going to take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. Of course, they got college games on there as well, NFL, and their last-minute deals. You could save up to 60% off buying last minute for sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, theater, whatever it is, and their all-in pricing is a fun feature. You got to toggle the feature and turn it on, but that'll show you your total upfront, no surprise fees at checkout. And, of course, the seat views. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy to see what your view is going to look like. Go take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account. Use our code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDON, Get $20 off your first purchase. Create an account. Use that, redeem that code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $20 off. Download Game Time today. It's last-minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. All right, roll along here to Locked On SEC, and one of our favorite visits every year at SEC Media Days is sitting down with the great Cole Cubelic, of course, on SEC Network and Jocks Radio there in Birmingham, and always fun to talk all things college football with Cole Cubelic. So here was a little bit of our conversation. Our buddy Dan Matthews joined us as well on the conversation. Here was us sitting down with Cole Cubelic. You're being on all these TV networks now. I mean, I'm sure you were always recognizable because of your look and all that, and obviously around the state of Alabama, but like, is it more so now you get way more recognized?
I'm in Birmingham, yeah, a lot. I thought you were going to ask about them because that's funny too. Like they do not care that I'm on television anymore. It used to be the biggest deal. I've got videos of them that my wife took when they were like 2 and 3 and 4, and it's just like, oh, and then just walk the other way. Like, literally don't care. Those kids, I will hear their friends come up to them at school and say, I saw your dad on TV, and they're like, yeah, and they just run. I'm like, man, I don't know. My kids are going to be Roman Harper when they grow up. They are not going to be impressed by a single thing on planet Earth. You can't impress Roman Harper. I dare you to go try. Go try to impress Roman Harper. You can't do it. He's not impressed by anything.
I mean, you win a Super Bowl. It's hard to be impressed by anything. We're talking with Cole Cubelic here, and let's get to some football stuff.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of go in the same vein as well, and, to shepherd us into the football conversation, you guys have a pretty fun crew on Saturday nights with you, Tom, and Jordan as well. I mean, just how fun has that been for you guys to be able to have that continuity together and continue to know you're going to be with each other every year?
And I will give Bill Palladino is our producer right now. We've had a couple different producers and directors. Joe Taylor, Patrick McManus, whoever's been on our games, they deserve a lot of credit too because they've kind of let us go. They've given us a lot of leash, and we've pissed some people off before. I probably don't need to remind people what games those were, but we like to try new things. We like to try different things, and so we are genuinely friends. We genuinely care about each other. Like when Jordan comes to Birmingham for SEC stuff, like he comes to my house. He had to do the whatever the business thing was that the SEC did, where they're like the startup thing. And he called me and he's like, hey, I'm in town Tuesday for 30 hours. Let's do dinner at the house. I want to see the kids. Whatever. He comes over. We're playing baseball in the backyard. Like my kids remember him, and so like that's just how it is. And so I think when you have a genuine care for one another and you genuinely know one another, it's not just work per se. I do think it comes across a little bit different, and I like to think it's a little bit different that we have 2 guys that played. Tom would tell you 3. He never really played. And actually can talk about football in different ways. So I think that also helps.
You don't win in this league unless you're good on the offensive line. You got some good groups this year. Who's the group that you're going to be watching the closest this year?
Before I go into that group, I think you're right, and it's a good observation. And the more I've been thinking about it, I actually think that the offensive lines collectively are ahead of the defensive lines for the first time. I don't know when, because we're so used to these dominant defensive linemen. Mississippi State would have 2, and Ole Miss would have 1, and South Carolina had like Javon Kinlaw, and Georgia had 4, and Bama had 5, and Florida had 2, and LSU had 6. There, especially inside, there's not a ton of scary guys this year. There's not. There's a couple good edge guys. A&M has a versatile player in Shamar Turner, can be inside, outside. Nick Scorton's pretty good outside the Purdue transfer. Princely Umanalan going from Florida to Ole Miss. He's got some twitch on the outside, but he's a little bit light. Obviously, we know what Tennessee has off the edge, and I think I had Tennessee as my number 1 defensive line. And the first thing was they have 4 proven D tackles. Now, are they game wreckers? Do they take over games? No, but give me another team that has 4 proven defensive tackles on their roster in this league, playing in this league. Nobody else has that. And then they have 2 really good edge defenders. So LSU is the team right now. They have the best tackle tandem in college football. All other 3 guys have either played or started a lot. They're a physical group. They finish. Will Campbell's kind of the standard. But I think Georgia's not going to be far off. I don't think Ernest Green's getting enough love heading into the season right now. They're really excited about this new center they got. Got Tate Ratledge, who's played a lot of football. Mims going to go back to tackle. When God built tackles, he built Amaris Mims. Like, that's what he is, his frame. But there's a couple other groups I think have a chance to surprise us. Like, I don't think Missouri's group's going far. You go steal a starting tackle from Oklahoma to plug in for Javon Foster. Armand Mimbu is the best right tackle in the SEC. The thing that Missouri will have is this Brett Nortfleet kid at tight end. He's an animal. I mean, he blocks like George Kittle. Like, he is awesome to watch. I love watching him. Texas is going to have a really good group. Kelvin Banks is going to be a first-round draft pick at left tackle. Like, they have a chance to be really special. Hell, they've got like 7 guys back that have played. Like, Cole Hudson's probably not going to start, and he's played a lot of football. Alabama's middle 3 have a chance to be really good. I think Auburn's middle 3 have a chance to be really good. I'm worried about tackle at both of those places. Tennessee's offensive line can be really good. Now, they've got to keep Cooper Mays healthy. It is a severe drop-off, and we can say every year we go into it and we say, well, if they lose this guy or this guy, but it's usually quarterback, edge receiver, or you have a special running back. I'm telling you, Cooper Mays is critical for Tennessee. Yeah. And Javon Spraggins, he's got to cut down on the penalties, played a ton of football. All right, John Campbell is one of the best tackles in the nation. You bring in Zalance Hurd from LSU, who has all the ability. He still needs to grow fundamentally, but if you're just talking about size and strength and ability, like, you plug him in, that group's got a chance to be really – I think Tennessee, maybe outside of Georgia, is in better shape collectively at the line of scrimmage than anybody else in the league. Georgia could make a really strong case for that because they have a lot of guys that have played on both sides of the ball, and they just have higher-end talent. But when you look at just proven commodities on both sides of the ball at the line of scrimmage, Tennessee's is in good a shape or better shape than anybody else in the league.
One more for Cole Cubelic here. We could talk to you all day about football and everything else. The additions of Texas and Oklahoma. I mean, it makes this event already was massively big, but it's even bigger. I mean, I started coming a decade ago to SEC Media Days. There was about 20 tables in the hallway at the Winfrey. We're up to 50 now here. I mean, Oklahoma City, Austin. I mean, some of the biggest cities. But in your mind, what does bringing in Texas and Oklahoma bring?
It takes 2 of the premium brands in college football that were not already a part of this league and puts them in this league. It makes it the best, most competitive conference in America. And I think if you talk about tradition and history, the Big Ten has a lot of greatness, but I don't think it's close between the 2 conferences, honestly. I mean, and the weird thing is, we did a whole show on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning that Friday before they came in, just celebrating both. It's wild how the general perception, maybe not for you guys or even a lot of people here, but if you just went to random college football fan in Jacksonville or in Atlanta or Nashville and you said, better historically, Texas or Oklahoma, I think 80% of people are going to say Texas. And it ain't even close. It's not close. It's Oklahoma. I mean, 49 conference championships, 7 Heisman Trophy winners, more national championships. The draft, if you just look, I mean, Oklahoma has dominated Texas in the draft the last decade, but Texas is the bigger brand. And so that's a little bit of an offset that I think combined makes it great. Now, we had a heated discussion yesterday on set about rivalries. I think the Red River rivalry, Red River shootout, is amazing. I think it's an awesome game. I've never been. I would love to go. Not sure I'm going to be on a high enough ranked crew to actually go to the game, but I would love to. And I'm not putting it above the Iron Bowl. And I think you can make a great case that the Egg Bowl's ahead of it. But that's me, and that's where I'm from, and that's what I've watched. So
I saw your poll. Y'all put a poll up, and it was like overwhelmingly.
I think the Oklahoma fans got a hold of that pretty early,
all right.
and they got that distributed around their fan base.
Gotcha.
But I got Oklahoma fans calling me casuals. And the guy who called me a casual, by the way, in the previous tweet admitted that he had never watched the Egg Bowl. Now, you tell me how those two things go together. I'm not real sure, but they were pretty pissed off yesterday. I did not expect to walk into 2024 SEC Media Days and walk out having pissed off the Oklahoma Nation. But apparently I've pulled that off. And the other odd part about it is I said what I said, and I'm not going to back off of it. Not one Texas fan has sent me a tweet about it. And not one Texas fan has sent me a text about it.
Wow.
I don't know what that says, but I have a feeling that I know what it means to them. But it's an awesome game. And now I think we have probably, you could, whatever number you want to get to, 5, 8, 10, 15, 20 rivalries, Army-Navy will always be number one for me. Which is why when, like Dusty yesterday, he immediately started going to championships and championship implications. And I'm like, where were you in 2010, 2013, 2017? Like, which Iron Bowls have you watched? I mean, I know there's been a couple where Auburn's been average or Bama wasn't great, but like most of them, I mean, we won the West in the Iron Bowl twice. So, I mean, back in my day, the SEC could hardly sniff a national championship game, because there was a lot of Big Ten. But, I mean, either way, I don't know how you say that, but that's why that argument, I never fall back on that, because you're immediately downgrading Army-Navy when you do that.
Yeah.
When you say, well, this has championship implications, and look how many wins and championships. Army-Navy's better than all of them.
Yeah. Throw out the records.
It's not up for debate. So it's if you want to say top 5, I think the SEC has at bare minimum 3. If you want to say top 10, I think the SEC is going to have like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So it's just another thing with those schools coming in that makes this the greatest conference in college sports.
He is the most hated man in the state of Oklahoma. He is Cole Cubelic. And
screw the Thunder.
Appreciate the time, man. One more time. Jocks FM in Birmingham with McElroy and Cubelic. The Cube Show, Cubelic Show. No, Cube Show with Cole
YouTube,
Cubelic on YouTube.
Apple Podcast, Spotify. You should subscribe to that.
You can just promote it. Wickles Pickles still a
They
sponsor?
do. The title sponsor. They're wickedly delicious.
Greatest
Go to wickles.com. They'll drop ship them to your house if they don't have them in your grocery store. They're actually really good too. Like if you haven't had them, you should try them. They're amazing.
Anything else you want to plug?
No.
Got like a Thai brand coming out or something?
I wish I did. Yeah. I need a sneaker deal.
We'll work on that next year. He is Cole Cubelic. I appreciate the time, and we'll continue on it right after this.
Thanks for having me.
Our thanks again to Cole Cubelic. Coming up next, you don't want to miss a little bit of our conversation with Randall Cobb, new to the SEC network, former Kentucky and NFL star. That's coming your way here in just a second. All right, roll along here, Locked On SEC. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen of the day. Hey, for your second listen, you can check out the Locked On College Football Podcast. Spencer McLaughlin getting you guys ready for a full season on the gridiron. Discussion on the upcoming season, the ever-changing landscape of college athletics, expanded playoffs, conference realignment, the transfer portal. I mean, he is talking all of it for you. It is Locked On College Football, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. We were over at SEC Media Days a couple weeks ago, and there was a couple of interviews we just, frankly, haven't had time in order to bring you guys, and so figured we would bring you a couple of those. You heard from Cole Cubelic already. Another guy we wanted to get in here, and we only spent a couple minutes with him, but Randall Cobb, former Kentucky star and, of course, NFL star for many years, the Green Bay Packers, among other teams. And he was just recently hired as a college football studio analyst over at the SEC Network, going to be working in the studio with them. So figured we'd bring you a little bit of that conversation with Randall Cobb, and appreciate him taking some time out. Here was Randall Cobb. Always fun rolling on here from SEC Media Days, and always fun when we get to talk with some of the new SEC Network analysts. And a guy literally just giving up his playing career and jumping into the media world. He is Randall Cobb. Welcome in, man. How are you?
Thank you. I really appreciate you. I've been it's been a fast 2 days for me. Being tossed around, pulled everywhere, but really excited to be stepping over and still have the opportunity to be around the game and talking about football.
It's crazy. I mean, this thing must have happened quick because it feels like yesterday the news was you were going to the Jets, and then suddenly now you're in the media world. I mean, how quickly did this thing happen?
Well, I've been in communication with ESPN for a few months now, and I had a couple trial runs, and we were able to get a deal done, and I'm excited for the opportunity. Right now I haven't dove into any football yet. I haven't even got the credentials to log in to talk about all the teams and all the players. So that's what I'm going to spend the next month doing, giving me the opportunity to catch up on last season and being able to prepare myself for this next season.
Talking with Randall Cobb, he is joining the SEC network. So talk us through, I guess, what the plan is. In-studio analyst, is that where we're going to start?
Yes. So I'll start as an in-studio analyst. I'll be covering college football. Alyssa Lang, Out of Pocket, a show on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. SEC Now I'll be doing a little bit of. I'll have a few opportunities on NFL Live. So just having a little bit of crossover. Like I said, I got a lot of catching up to do on the college game and the college product, and I'm really looking forward to diving into the film, really, because that's what I am. I'm a film junkie. I like to watch film. I like to learn about guys and see how they play.
We've had so many great SEC players come through, and we're here at SEC Media Days. We've had so many different players throughout the years: Roquan Smith, Calvin Ridley, dudes who were studs in college, went on to be studs at the pro level. But how difficult is it as a pro player to keep up with your college team and watch? Because usually on Saturdays you're getting ready for your game the next day. It's a little hard to keep up, right?
And then you add kids to the mix. my Saturdays are a little packed. We're normally at the park, or we're out doing something with the kids. So I've missed a lot of college football over the past 13 years.
Yeah.
But, whenever it's on, I'm able to watch it. I love to sit down and keep up with SEC play. And with my team, especially Kentucky, being able to get back, I'll have the opportunity to get back a little bit more now that my season's freed up.
It is great, though. I mean, I'm thinking of the analysts we've had, Chris Doring representing Florida. I mean, it seems like we have so many schools represented. Kentucky, we had Tony Delk do basketball, but really haven't had a Kentucky football analyst, so you get to be that guy now to talk up your team.
I look forward to being that, and the Big Blue Nation, I know they're out there, and they're excited, and I look forward to being able to come back and be around a little bit more.
It's crazy, too, talking about Mark Stoops, now one of the most tenured head coaches in the SEC, been around a while, and they got some talent. I mean, they bring in the kid from Georgia, Brock Vandegrift, but the receivers, Dane Key, Berrien Brown, I mean, these kids are back again, and you start to look at it and go, can they take that next up? And if they do, Kentucky's going to start to be a player here and can make some noise.
And that's what makes the SEC so difficult, because you have your heavy hitters, you have your Georgias, and now Texas and Oklahoma coming in. I have a dark horse in Connor Wigman from Texas A&M. I think that across the board, you have so many teams that can really have an opportunity late in the year, and it's really just setting yourself up for success early in the season to give yourself an opportunity late in the year. But I think that's going to be a transition for Texas and Oklahoma coming into the league. Is there's no down week. The Kentuckys will sneak up on you. The Arkansas will sneak up on you if you play down a little bit.
Yeah, I keep telling those people, this ain't Baylor and Kansas. I mean,
it's
like,
a little different.
You road trip at Arkansas. You maybe pencil in a W, but, man, if you don't bring your A game every week,
exactly,
you're going to get beat in this league. All right, thanks again to Randall Cobb for joining us. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On SEC. Thank you guys for making us your first listen every day. Now you go make your second listen. Check out that Locked On College Football podcast with Spencer McLaughlin, getting you ready for the start of a college football season. We're talking all things SEC here. He's talking big picture stuff across the landscape of college football. I'm Chris Gordy. This has been Locked On SEC. Come on back tomorrow and see us. Why don't you? Right here on Locked On SEC.